Hello, everyone. Once again, this is Dare to Speak. And I want to touch on a subject on this video that's going to be very controversial. And I'm not doing this in order to cause hurt feelings or to start any kind of vicious argument or anything like that. I'm just doing this because of something that I feel is actually true or right. I've known a few people that went into the military. Two guys that I know when I was in high school back in '91. They, about maybe late in the year of 1990, they joined the military, and they ended up fighting over it in Desert Storm, when it was called Desert Shield back then, and then it got changed to Desert Storm. After they did good, they survived and stuff like that. After being away, and they privately told me something that I kind of wondered myself. And they said that it's not a good idea to join the military. And they were both athletes. I mean, one of them was a football player. The other one was into soccer and wrestling and all this other stuff like that. So they were athletes. And they actually told me, even though they passed basic training and they survived and they fought in Desert Storm over in Iraq, they told me it's not a good thing to do. That if they would have known back then what they know now, they wouldn't have even bothered. And basically what I'm trying to tell you guys is this. And the reason why I'm actually saying this and showing it on the screen like that is to bring a point across. There's a couple of reasons why I don't think it's a good idea to be proud of it, and I know there's people out there who joined the military and they actually felt that it was honorable and stuff like that, and you really shouldn't talk bad about it. I can understand it from their point of view, but try to look at it from another point of view as to the information that I'm giving out. If you don't want to believe it, that's fine. I mean, that's fine. You have the right to believe whatever you want. It's just my opinion that it's not a good thing, and I honestly strongly feel that there's a lot of people out there who feel the same way as I do, but they're just afraid to speak out, or they're a little bit worried to even mention it and stuff like that, because they'll probably get harassed, they'll probably get bullied, or whatever the case may be. Any number of things. I could understand the protesters back in Vietnam, the ones that regretted even going over to fight over there. And I actually understood why there was a bullshit war. And it was a bullshit war. Not to start any trouble, but it was a bullshit war. And here is just one example of what I mean. A perfect example.
Vietnam. The United States official declaration of war on North Vietnam in 1964 came after an alleged incident involving two U.S. destroyers being attacked by North Vietnamese PT boats in the Gulf of Tonkin. This was known as the Gulf of Tonkin incident. This single situation was the catalytic pretext for massive troop deployment and full-fledged warfare. One problem, however, The attack on the U.S. destroyers by Vietnamese PT boats never happened. It was a completely staged event to have an excuse to enter the war. Former Secretary of Defense Robert McNamara stated years later that the Gulf of Tonkin incident was a mistake, while many other insiders and officers have come forward, relaying that it was a contrived farce, a complete lie. Once in the war, it was business as usual. In October 1966, President Lyndon Johnson lifted trade restrictions on the Soviet bloc, knowing full well that the Soviets were providing upwards of 80% of North Vietnam's war supplies. Consequently, Rockefeller interests financed factories in the Soviet Union, which the Soviets used to manufacture military equipment and send it to North Vietnam. However, the funding of both sides of this conflict was only one side of the coin. In 1985, Vietnam's rules of engagement were declassified. This detailed what American troops were and were not allowed to do in the war. It included absurdities like North Vietnamese anti-aircraft missile systems could not be bombed until they were known to be fully operational. No enemy could be pursued once they crossed the border of Laos or Cambodia. And most revealing of all, the most critical strategic targets were not allowed to be attacked unless initiated by high military officials. Apart from these imposed ludicrous limitations, North Vietnam was informed of these restrictions and therefore could base entire strategies around the limitations of the American forces. This is why the war went on so long. And the bottom line is this: the Vietnam War was never meant to be won, just sustained. This war for profit resulted in 58,000 American deaths and 3 million dead Vietnamese. So, where are we now?
And that's basically what I meant. That's basically what I mean. And I hope that's a good enough example to prove to you of what I strongly believe is true. Again, I'm not trying to talk trash or to get anybody angry or to start any fights. I mean, this is what I strongly feel, and I believe I have the right to speak it. And if anybody wants to drop a comment or say anything, you know, like I said, feel free. Or even questions. Whatever, you know, the whole routine. And I hope you like this video. And again, you know, I'm just trying to be correct on this, because there's a lot of people who actually are just too afraid to even to speak up and to say anything like this. And just to add on to it, here's another thing that I think would be good advice, and also to help prove a point of what I'm trying to say.
3. Don't ever allow yourself, your family, or anyone you know to ever join the military. This is an obsolete institution now used exclusively for maintaining an establishment that is no longer relevant. U.S. soldiers in Iraq work for U.S. corporations, not the people. Propaganda forces us to believe that war is natural and the military is an honorable institution. Well, if war is natural, why are there 18 suicides every single day by American veterans who have post-traumatic stress disorder? If our military men and women are so honored, why is it that 25% of the American homeless population are veterans?
And there you have it. Again, hopefully you like this video, and hopefully you're not too offended by it. And this is Dare to Speak, talking to you now. And again, drop a comment. Please subscribe if you want to. And to all of you, take care.